What the fuck do you want?
Hello and welcome to another week of What the Fuck Do You Want? And you'll be glad to know I'm not on my own. I have somebody with me. Who the fuck are you meant to be?
I'm Ruairi. That's who I'm meant to be, and you're not Rob. What's happening?
I'm certainly not the last time I checked, and thankfully so. So how would people know you're ahead?
They probably won't. I do a podcast.
Pricks.
I do a podcast with the wonderful Robert Morris called the More Freedom Foundation Podcast, and I do the podcasting for that. So that's how you may know me. So you probably don't. I'd be surprised if there's any overlap. I'd be very impressed with that.
Oh, you would hope so. We need to support our own.
Yes.
I'm trying to make it so I have nothing but Irish guests going forward in the future.
And then people find us impenetrable to understand.
Good. So, do you want to talk a bit about the show, what it's about, or?
Yeah, well, Robert Morris has been doing politics for about 10 years now in various internet mediums, from YouTube to TikTok to newsletters. And about 2 years ago, I just messaged him and says, I notice you have a podcast going. Would you like a hand with one? As if I had experience. And
you just need to sound the part.
And I just said, if you just chat for an hour, I'll do everything else. And we've been doing that for over 2 years now.
Nice one. But there's no politics over here. How could you find things to talk about?
Yes, I know. It is funny. We've never talked about Ireland. So
could be the Christmas special.
It could be the Christmas special, which reminds me, our least popular episode was a Simpsons episode. That was a Christmas special. So me talking about mediums and film maybe isn't a good mix.
Well, we'll soon find out, because we're here to discuss such a thing today. Will I get to the question?
I think you should.
Right. Let me warm up here. What the fuck do you want?
Oh my goodness. I just wanted to talk about a film called Fright. Is that okay?
Fright. That sounds terrible. What is it?
Well, it was a financial bomb. It is a new wave Australian cult classic about an Englishman who teaches English in the Outback.
Ugh.
And he's technically an indentured servant. And he goes from a village that's about 3 buildings to the nearby town, which is slightly more buildings, and gets to see aggressive Australian hospitality.
They are the worst. So, movie originally came out, 1971?
1971, based on a book that came out in 1969.
So, I went back, I actually missed this, and this would have been right up my street as a teenager. It's just the right amount of out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad I got to see it now.
Yeah. Had you heard about it when it got re-released? Because there is a bit of a story with just the process of this film becoming well known again.
Mm-hmm. As I say, missed it completely. I talked to a few friends, and one of them told me I watched it, but I don't remember.
Oh.
But that happened a lot in teenage years. And then they're like, sure, you know what? It's the mad one with the kangaroo murder. I was like, all right.
But that's most Australian shows.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure I would have remembered that.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was a very enjoyable watch. And thank you for bringing it to my attention.
You're very welcome. It's a very good show. And it made me get the director's cut, where I've managed to forget everything that's just been mentioned. So this got sort of
director.
Popular.
Who is the director?
Oh, he hasn't done much, just a few wee things. He's a Canadian man, which he talks about Canada is like Oppo Australia, as an ex-British colony, massive but cold instead of hot. He is Ted Kaskowski. How do you pronounce it?
Ted Kotcheff on my notes.
Kofke. Ted Kofke.
A lot of research.
That's what we get on here. He's done a few films that you may have known, like Weekend at Bernie's and Rambo First Blood.
How the fuck did I not see this? I normally go back, if I enjoy watching something, I will go back through the director's work.
Yeah.
I mean, Luc Besson, that was a journey.
What's that?
He made Leon the Professional.
Oh, does he just have a lot of strange stuff that no
He has a lot of shite.
Oh.
He has made some of the greatest movies, and he has made some of the fucking worst. Fifth Element was one of his. Enjoyed it as well. And then there's the Taxi movies he does.
Oh.
Awful. But we're not here to talk about him yet.
We are not.
I'd
Not
love
today.
to do a Leon episode. No women, no kids,
Mhm.
just milk.
So yeah, why you maybe didn't totally know about it is it basically came out and kind of bombed everywhere except France because they have this sort of nihilism bleakness. So France adored this film, but after its release, it kind of flopped. It did okay in Australia, as you'd imagine. America, It was called Outback. In the rest of Europe,
I didn't think Australia'd be too impressed with how it was displayed here.
well, I think it is. It did get a cult following, and obviously, I think it's very real. What I love about it, particularly, is it's a beautiful blend of like just normal people being extras.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the background characters and some of the speaking characters are just people that live in these towns.
But it's even the locations they go to. We'll get onto characters later, but his shack doesn't look like a set.
No, yeah, exactly. That's one thing in the director commentary. They said that's in Sydney. It's a set, but it looks exactly like it should be, which is a shack in the outback.
Just bottles everywhere, ashtrays full to the brim. Yeah.
And it's also it also shows how terrifying Australia is, because on a map of Australia, this isn't as outback can be.
Mm-hmm.
It's filmed in a place called Broken Hills, New South Wales, which is about 12 hours from Sydney.
Yeah.
With modern cars and that. So it's still incredibly far away and incredibly remote. I think you and me probably would die within an hour in this place.
Sunlight at all, just no.
Yes, we're a bit too translucent for that carry on. So yes, he's an indentured servant. Because did you hear about the £10 bombs?
I didn't actually.
That's why he's here. I don't know if you get confused. At the time, they had a thing where you could go to Australia for £10.
Yeah.
Which should be roughly, what would that be, 150 in today's money?
Because it sounded like a scheme to pay for his own education. He was taking roles in places I'm guessing people didn't want to go to.
Exactly. So the immigrants would get the jobs the Australians didn't want, which is working in an incredibly remote area. So but the first scene we see is these are just local school children. And it's so strange for us because it's basically set at Christmas. They're just counting down, when does Christmas start?
So it is, yes, technically a Christmas movie. It's very seasonal. Yes. We have recorded this at the right time.
Die Hard, get out of the way. Contrarians, you've got a new film you can say. Here's your favorite Christmas film. Just because, what is it? Small things like these has also come out for all you contrarian Christmas fans.
Plenty of fuel for the fire.
And he's a coal man, so there is plenty of fuel for the fire. But yeah, we just see an incredibly remote area. He's just waiting for the time to click down so he can start his holidays. Because that's one thing that confused me. Is kind of like he seems to go on for ages, but it's like watching it again, you're like, oh yeah, he's on Christmas holidays. Mm-hmm. But their Christmas holidays is also their summer holidays.
So he plans to go off to Sydney to meet his fiancée?
Yes. But before that, he just goes to the nearby town, which is very exciting.
Yeah, every character in this calls it the Yabba. It has a real name.
Yes.
But it causes me difficulty even reading it.
Yeah, it's also not a real town. As I say, it is filmed in Broken Hills.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Baba Yaba? Is the name of it, but they call it the Yabba.
The Yabba. Very Australian and much easier.
Yes, much, much easier. But yeah, just some of the locations are incredible. The acting's incredible.
It's even this era of cinema. I just love the colours of everything. And it's a small thing, but the characters look so vastly different. You don't have to be reminded who they are.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a modern thing. Maybe I'm getting older. Policemen are getting younger. But is it, you go to the movie and it's, the one with the good tan, the perfect teeth. And
the actors look like real humans.
Yeah. As soon as you meet the police officer, you're not going to confuse him for anybody else. When you meet Doc, you know who he is. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody is a character.
Well, I'm kind of reminded, I call it the Sleepy Hollow effect, where you're like, it was supposed to be a Victorian London, but everyone's got perfect teeth and makeup. And like, yeah.
Not a touch of scurvy.
But yes, our main actor's not like ugly or anything. He just looks like a normal human being.
Because this is it Gary Bond? And watching this, I am quite a fan of Constantine, the comics.
Okay.
And the original one, not John Wick. Mm-hmm. His version doesn't look anything like this. I think this man would have made a perfect Constantine.
Okay, interesting.
Could have just been the constant smoking and drinking.
Mm-hmm. But he is very arrogant.
That he is. He has a real disdain for the area he's in, and especially the fucking people around
Well,
him.
because Wikipedia describe him as middle class, but technically he's not English middle class because he's not from money and he's not particularly well educated. He brings it up. So I think he's kind of putting this on.
Because you'd imagine if he was that well-to-do, he wouldn't have had to go on the scheme and be sent off to Australia.
Yeah, but he is incredibly condescending to everyone in the town. And they all have a kind of like, well, you don't really know what it's like to live here.
Yeah, fuck you then.
But the main thing is, it seems to remind me of medieval Europe. They do drink a lot.
That first scene where he meets the police
The
officer.
bartender. Oh, the police officer. Oh my God, he's such a brilliant character.
Super. That is the pace I like to drink at. I have not seen that on cinema before. That's the way to do it. They're only small glasses, I appreciate, but that man has a gulp.
Well, one thing we've just glossed over, I just want to bring up is, so I watched this on DVD at first, and then I got it in Blu-ray. The Blu-ray does it justice because it shows just how clammy this place is.
Yeah.
Everyone is just glistening with sweat. There's a scene where there's a receptionist. He goes into the sort of half rundown hotel, and the receptionist is completely ignoring him because she's just like fanning water on her throat and all round herself, and kind of can't really be bothered with him, just to let us know that. Well, it's also, this is pretty much before like air conditioning became common. So yes, we do get a scene that's kind of weirdly gross because she is just really, really clammy and warm.
Because you do get the hotel, you get the bar, and then they go off to the club. And it is, you can almost feel it.
Yeah.
I remember when the smoking ban came in, and oh yeah.
Yeah, everyone complains you can
place.
suddenly smell the sticky floors.
Yeah.
But also what's the policeman's name? Jock. Yes, he's a great actor. So apparently a lot of the time you weren't supposed to like skull it, but this actor was a true professional and a true Australian, and apparently he just sculled them every time.
Well, they normally say when you're taking a drink, when you're recording, you put it up to your mouth, but you don't touch it for continuity.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling that he just finished off and got fresh ones every shoot.
Well, why not?
Make the most of it.
So he's very condescending, but here's one thing. Do you think the policeman knows exactly what he's on about, but is playing dumb?
I very much get that impression. He allows our main character to feel superior to him.
Yeah.
But he's not at all.
I also love that he's often described as the man in the coat, because why would you wear a coat here? It's 40 degrees and everyone's sweltering, but yet he is in a coat.
Made of tougher stuff.
But this is also where he points out that he is a slave. So I think he's technically an indentured servant, because the way it worked, the £10 palms is £10 to get over, but then you had to get your own way back. So he talks about, is it $1,000? So
to buy his
1,000
freedom back, essentially.
Australia had just moved to Australian dollars from the pound. Australian dollars in that time I worked out is about 14,000 in today's money, in today's Australian money. So 7,000 sterling to get back. And he's probably making next to nothing teaching in that tiny wee village.
You wouldn't imagine, no. It doesn't look like there's much going around in that area.
But do you think basically, from what I can tell, is the policeman's basically doing his best to welcome him into the community?
I don't know. I'm mixed on the police officer, because you could accredit him, like he does take him to the gambling den.
Yeah, but the gambling den is kind of incredible. So we'll go to the gambling scene. So what's it called? Two up?
Two up.
Two up is essentially just you're betting on whether it's heads or tails. So there's two coins, but you have to get both. It can't be heads and tails. It has to be tails, or heads. So you just have like a little board. You have it, I think, do you have them heads up to start with? And you have to throw it over your head. You have to give a good proper throw. And then when they land, I find this an incredibly social way of gambling, because the odds are you win or lose. It's genuinely 50-50. And I find this would be a great way of, what would you call it? Like understanding who lives in the town, blending in with the locals, because very quickly they kind of just accept him as one of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, how much do you want? 100 on heads. Okay, 100 on heads. And then it's like, oh, well, you've won 100. There you go. There's my 100. Because theoretically, if you just go in, sometimes you'll win, sometimes you'll lose. It's not like gambling today where the house always wins. You're only gambling your money with someone else's. There is no house here. So I think it's a bizarre but kind of collaborative form of gambling.
I just think it'd make a great drinking game.
Well, there was a lot of drinking.
There was a lot of drinking. There is a YouTube supercut, and I must leave it in the show notes of this, of every beer that's drank in the movie.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say, is they do point out that the water isn't good. It's only for washing. So that's why I say it's a bit like medieval Europe, where it's like, I think this beer is quite weak alcohol content. So they're kind of just drinking it for liquid. It's hard to know where that line is. Is it they're all alcoholics, or is it they just need liquid? And this is the only clean source of liquid they can find.
It definitely could be a bit of both. I mean, the way the policeman hammers them, I mean.
Yeah, but he doesn't
Piss
hammer
water.
them. He just he drinks them like a gentleman. It's like at a good pace, but it's just like, I could just do this all
Solid.
day because I am. What's interesting is there's some in the Wikipedia, it made it out like a sinister scene where they remember their dead. So they're in a place that has like gambling and it's a bar, and then all of a sudden,
I kind of compared this to, we've got like British legions over here.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, is it Anzac? So Australia, New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, people thought the director was like mocking Australians, but this is just something that they did at the time.
Yeah.
And he was kind of honoring that. Basically,
well, especially when they had their recent independence, you can kind of see why. I think it's a bit of a timestamp.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a real cultural change for them at this moment.
So basically, I don't know, is it at 12 o'clock, they just basically have like a ding and everyone stands up, and our protagonist, I've forgotten his name already, John is sitting down, and the policeman's like, get up. So they all have to stand up like the national anthem, and it's just like a little robot voice saying, we honor our dead who have given their all so we can have tomorrow. And I think it's quite a nice scene.
Yeah,
I think it's done with respect.
It really is. I think maybe the tone of it, maybe that's how people picked up on it, but I don't think it was trying to hint at cult-like behavior or anything like that.
No, I think it is, because I think this is quite an accurate portrayal of Australia at the time in the Outback. I'm certain it's not today, but this is like a time capsule of how Australia used to be and how they integrated their immigrants.
When we are talking about 2-Up, I mean, this John has a brilliant streak at 2-Up to begin with.
I also think he's not playing 2-Up properly. I think
so?
The whole point of 2-Up is you put in half your wages one week, you lose it. You put in half your wages the next week and you win. And you just do that until you leave. So it's almost as if you win some, you lose some. But so we've talked about
something
before,
to do as you're drinking.
We've talked about before, if John gets 1,000 Australian dollars, he can break his contract and go back to England. So John sees this game that's essentially double your money, and he looks at it and he's very confused. He's a bit snobby, and then after a while, a few drinks, he gets into it. And there's some very stylish scenes that are shot from up. We see the coins flying up real close. Is it the tails has the X on it?
Yeah.
Just to make it more visual. And all of a sudden he's like, right, I'll give this a go, because the policeman's encouraging him to drink and gamble, which...
He's a great policeman.
He also says he doesn't like arrest anyone. He basically like, he is a very tall man. He's an imposing figure.
But you notice that even when he is getting more drinks from the bar, the crowd parts for him. I don't even think he orders. He just walks away with 2 glasses.
He also tells him, I'll get you the drinks because I get them quicker. The barman's like, right, cop, while he would hang about for a while for the palm.
There is no transaction there. He just picks them up.
Yes. It also is a strange place. We find out about a character later on that doesn't need money.
Of course. This goes the way of the Paddy Power dream. He ends up losing it all.
Well, he ends up winning it. He figures it out, and then he makes 400 Australian, and he goes back to his goes back to his room, and he's like, if I do this again, I'm on my way home. So he tries to do it again, and he loses everything. And then we see, I have to say, there's just some incredible faces. The vast majority of the people in this scene are just locals. And we get some faces you would not get past a casting agent, because these are just real human faces.
It is refreshing in a way to look back at older movies for this.
Yeah, because they're not so uniformed. So yeah, we see Doc at this point.
Yes, we meet Doc, and quite an important character he turns out to be.
I do love it. Doesn't he ask for this? The cop says, look, this is where you can get a good steak. And he asks for a rare steak, and he seems to get an incredibly well done one. But yes, we meet Donald Pleasance playing Doc, who is the town's doctor.
And now he had a bit of a backstory. We learn later on he used to perform in Sydney.
Yes.
He implies it was because of his drinking he couldn't really do it there anymore, but we find out he is a bit of an outback hedonist.
Yes. But he also says that because it's hard to notice an alcoholic in this town. He is just considered normal.
They do all blend together.
So this is where we meet him, and it's like he doesn't want to have carbs. He doesn't want the eggs. He doesn't want the bread. And Doc is like, I'll take that. There's also how British it is at this point, because we're getting a lot of red sauce, brown sauce sort of stuff.
That's what English culture boils down to, really.
But I think Australia's a bit more posh now.
They've got
we
dimmies.
But how would you symbolize losing all your money? Would it be completely nude on a bed with your bare arse exposed?
It hasn't happened yet, but possibly.
Okay. So yes, he loses all his money, and he's not that happy, as you would imagine when you thought you were about to get home.
I do like that contrast between him being the one that landed in this town sneering at all.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't call them the poor underneath him, but he definitely sees them as lesser.
Oh, absolutely.
And he finds himself in a situation where he's got nothing. He's going to have to depend on the charity of others.
Yes. But also, well, he's a fine figure of a man, but was that just men in the 70s?
I believe so. A lot of smoking is great for the figure.
Yeah. But also, there is a part when he opens the window, we look outside, and it generally looks like a third world country. Like, this is a hard place to live, and it is.
Come on now, you've flown into Belfast International.
Yeah, but there can be more than one third world country.
It's not a competition.
I know. So yeah, he's suddenly just thinking about all the wonderful locals, and we're back to your woman culling off her cleavage.
So will we skip forward a wee bit?
We shall. We do meet some aggressive hospitality when he meets Tim. Tim's a strange man. He seems to meet him and then he gets angry because he won't take a drink.
I say, well, I have no money, so I can't buy you a drink in return. I didn't ask you to buy me a drink. I told you I'd buy you a drink. And I say, yes, I love this energy. This is how I want to be all the time. He does go back to Tim's house, and we eventually, we meet his daughter, but we meet Dick and Joe.
Yes, Dick and Joe are brilliant. Did you know Joe is a boxing champion?
I was not aware.
Peter Whittle, is that his name? He's done a few other things, including like Farscape, which I was kind of surprised at, but he is an intimidating figure. He's about 6'6". He just dominates. His head's nearly touching the ceiling, and he comes in with Dick.
I didn't want to lead straight to the kangaroo stuff because, that's what a lot of this is all about. Is it Joe that boxes with the kangaroo?
Joe boxes with the kangaroo.
Of course it fucking was.
Yes. Because Joe
I was
is a
never
professional
hoping
boxer.
more for a man to get disemboweled.
Yes.
Animals are better than people.
I have to say, two, rambunctious bullies in a town, I've never seen better portrayed as Dick and Joe.
It feels really genuine.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they just got drunk on the set and started beating each other up, but it really worked.
So, yeah, weirdly, Tim is quite a petite man. And has a lovely house, and then these two just rambunctious, I guess in their, what would you say, late 30s at this point?
Yeah.
That feel like every day is the weekend.
They kind of live like teenagers, yeah.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, my friends are here. And he's a bit like, oh, I'm going to go. And they're like, what do you mean you're going to go?
Have a beer.
I'm going to sit here. Then there's the scene where they're like, where is he? And they're like, oh, he's talking to Jeanette, who is Tim's daughter. And it's like, why would he want to talk to a woman? He's an English teacher. So they're like, no, fair enough. But yeah, they just want more people to get drinking with and get rowdy with.
Yeah, because that's how the kangaroo scenes come about. They just decide to get really drunk and go hunting.
But there is another scene before that there's a lot of controversy over. It's
Which one's that?
When he gets seduced by Jeanette.
Yes.
So he's been drinking all day, but because we've kind of gotten used to so much drinking, we forget that he's had so much drink. So when she seduces him, he kind of jumps off in fear, and a lot of people think it's like, they don't know why, but it's basically he's just drunk and he goes to vomit, and then she's a bit like, oh, you've spoiled the mood now. Yeah,
I can see why some people would watch that and say he vomited by repulsion, possibly.
Yes. So, yeah, she's a bit had enough. But then the doc comes back. There's a lot more drinking. There's tinsel. It's very Christmassy.
Very Christmassy.
And we get the first scene in the shack.
Yeah, where he wakes up.
Because we haven't quite got the kangaroo scene yet.
I just wanted to jump ahead.
I know. Sorry. One incredible thing is this is so they have what I would describe as like the evil Ghostbusters car because it makes ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
It is a Ford Fairline from 1959, and it is pink. And they have basically, there's a thing in Australia called a ute, which is like a sort of normal car with a big bed in the back.
Mm-hmm.
But they've kind of made their own ute. They've kind of just smashed the boot off and made like a big box in it. And they also have the roof cut out so they can shoot with it. But it's also the fact this is so dangerous. Like if they hit one wee pivot, this car will flip and kill them all. But they do some incredible driving.
But it's very much them.
Oh, yeah. They feel at
you
home.
look at that car, you know who owns it.
Yes. But another incredible thing is they don't seem to do any sped up footage. Because you know in like the original Mad Max and stuff, quite often in this era,
Course,
to make something look faster, they just speed it up. But no, this is all kind of immense.
And I don't think anybody was sober on this set.
Yes. Yeah, it is just incredible. But so, yes, this is famous mostly for a lamping scene because the lamping is absolutely 100% real. So, yeah, these kangaroos, there's a scene. So they're kind of about with their dog wrecking during the day with Doc and all the rest, Dick and Joe. And obviously they kind of see him as a bit of like a square because he is. So trying to push him. But yeah, it's just like all day. Every day is the weekend for these lads. They just want to drink and shoot. And they find a wee bar, and then they do a bit of wrecking and drinking and all the rest.
This is the tiny wee shanty, and they
That's
a
real bar. Yeah. Then once it becomes nighttime, that's when there's a big lamp on the top, which John doesn't know about and doesn't know why it's there, but it's to lamp the kangaroos. And then there's just a scene where we see kangaroo after kangaroo getting killed. And so it's professional hunters doing this. And they do this normally. They do you know what it's for?
No.
Dog food.
Oh, of course.
I think I think kangaroos are eaten for humans, but apparently a lot of it is for like bespoke dog food. Some dogs get allergic to some types of food, and apparently kangaroos are a bit less likely to cause issue to dogs. So a hell of a lot of kangaroos are just slaughtered every day for dog food. So what we're witnessing is just a little tiny glimmer of what happens every day.
The things you learn.
The things you learn. But it is horrific.
Yeah, it did catch me back, and I've seen some racy stuff.
It's also the fact that kangaroos look very human-like.
I always think of kangaroos as cartoon characters. So what are you doing? They just hop about, have a great time.
No, Skippy's getting plugged here.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's also when you see them running off winged, a half shot, and then getting finished off.
Bit much.
It is a lot. This is intense.
Animals.
But yes, we do see a scene. Apparently, this was one kangaroo that just hated humans. Apparently, he had one eye shot out, but he wasn't like part of the shoot.
Okay.
He wasn't being shot at. So he must have got shot at a couple of days earlier in a completely unrelated scene.
Came back for revenge.
He said apparently he's a giant. He's like about 7 foot, maybe 6 to 7 foot male kangaroo that hated humans apparently. So our boxer Joe has a lovely scene where he sort of plays with him and boxes him and has a wee wrestle and then slits his throat.
That's just cheating. Imagine UFC if they allowed you to have knives.
But then they make John has to be a real man, you see. So he does the same with an injured baby kangaroo, but he makes a mess of it.
Big time. Again, I think it's making that character do it. It is really how low he's fallen. Like this scene.
It's also his clothes symbolize his soul because they're all ragged and dirty and dusted.
Or he would have been the cleanest character on shots. It's when he enters the bus at the very start of the movie.
Yeah.
So he looks different than everybody else.
And he turns down the beer.
Yeah. Who would do such a thing?
At the very start, he's on the train, do you remember? And he's like, I don't want a beer.
I don't mix with your sort. I think if we go any further in the story, like we just give away quite the crux of the ending and what it all boils down to. I would say go watch it.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fantastic film.
I had to pirate this to get viewing it. Yeah. You got the Blu-ray?
But yeah, I only got the Blu-ray for this. CEX's finest.
That could be the shouts because I didn't see it on any streaming service. I thought I got lucky on Amazon, but this was remade into a 2-part TV series.
It was. I watched, because I think it's on Channel 4, that 2-part series, and I watched like the first couple of seconds, and there's something so modern about it, kind of ruined everything. And I was just like, nope.
I just went off reviews and it seems not well regarded.
Not well regarded at all.
I suppose we'd better bounce on to what the fuck do you want? I mean, I would boil this section down to I think everybody should watch this. Horrible kangaroo scenes included.
Absolutely. If you're ever thinking of going to Australia, this is probably exactly what it's like right now. Except you could buy a house back then.
Yeah, it seemed much easier.
Then again, a lot of them are just shacks. I just want to point out a minor spoiler for something later on. He gets a lift with someone and the man gets really, really upset. He's like, I've just taken you 50 kilometers. Would you just have a drink with me? That man, no acting experience, knocks it out of the park. Unbelievable. Because it's also the fact he's so aggressive to our main actor. It's like he's properly like, it's like they're two actors dueling on stage. It's fantastic even for just that one scene. So I always remember the film, is it Monsters, where they had a lot of like just random people act in it. And it always feels very like, oh, we've come off the rails and now we're dealing with normal people. I just find it so hard to tell where actor begins and just townsman ends.
Because I suppose they are locals to the area. You are writing people that resemble this. And maybe this is how some of them get on. And if you did drive somebody that distance and they wouldn't get a beer with you, why not?
I think another thing, are Australians quite confident?
Any I've met,
friendly and confident. Yeah, so girls make them suitable for such a task.
Why wouldn't you fucking drink a beer with them?
Yeah, just drink a beer with me.
Prick. All high and mighty, covered in kangaroo blood.
That's just English for you, though. It could be a portrayal of the class system and how it robs you of that when you go to Australia. Who knows?
Stay where you belong. What a message.
Yes.
So, yeah, with the remake that happened, I mean, I'd love to see this get a repress or like a cinematic run, maybe, for an anniversary.
Oh, this has.
Has it,
this is one of so basically the original, what do you call it? The masters of this got lost. So it was only like TV edits and like what people had taped off the TV.
And every copy you make gets eventually worse.
Were the only ones that existed for a long time. And I think it turned up in like 2010. So then it got a re-release. So it's one of the few films to get like 2 releases at Cannes because they just adored it there. The French are mad for this film.
You can see why I'm a big fan of it. So it is quite a strange take on that fish out of water losing himself. But
there's also the fact that it's like, the Australians will look after you. It won't get too bad with their aggressive hospitality.
Have a fucking beer.
And there's one character called Pig Eye, which is always fun.
Wish that was my nickname.
Yes, you never get to choose your nickname.
Socials, closing thoughts. How would people find you?
Just look up the More Freedom Foundation. It's mostly Rob stuff, and I do the podcasty bit, so I'll be on the Spotify.
Yes, and if you can't understand us, as always, show notes, it'll be in there.
Yes.
And do you have anything to say about the movie before we call it quits? Get out of here.
I just find it a lovely balance between anthropology and a feature film and a wonderful time capsule for a certain era in Australian history.
Do I just enjoy it? Even I don't know what it is about the colour saturation. I just love looking at this movie.
No, the colours are brilliant and it just lets the Australian outback shine and be the one of the characters.
It is a strange thing. I'd love to go there and just drink all day and shout at people. That's my energy.
Yeah, but you would want to drink, so you'd blend in and then you could walk about a shack with your shirt off.
I wouldn't be that nice to a policeman, I must admit. But
he doesn't seem to arrest anyone.
Yeah, that one seems all right. But no, the kangaroo murder I could never get on with.
But I think they're all at kangaroo murdering.
No, I couldn't be having it. I'd turn my nose up at that bit.
No lamping with you then.
Certainly not. There's plenty of things on this planet that deserve murder, but hoppy kangaroos are not one of them.
Also with that caliber, it's not high enough. I don't know what they actually use, but a 2-2 would be too cruel.
Literally bounces off them, as we know from the 7-foot-tall one. We must call it an episode there.
We shall. I'm sorry for giving you your worst episode yet.
Everybody says that. It's never the guest's fault. It's always mine, I've come to learn.
Oh.
It's the way I take it anyway. But thank you for joining me.
You're very welcome. It's lovely to be here.
And we'll be coming back for another one.
Some of these days.
Eventually. Just need to hit the DVD collection, see what else you've got for me. What has animal torture? You'll hate that.
What do I have to watch a film that doesn't have animal torture in it?
Well, it's your thing now.
Oh no. I wanted my thing to be new wave Australian films. Not animal torture. Oh God, this is gone
you
badly.
Can't choose your nickname. You can't choose what you're known for.
Okay, well, that's a lesson.
Until next time, thanks for listening. Ruairi, get fucked.